Most cruisers think the worst surprises happen on board. The truth is, the damage usually starts before embarkation, and once you know these booking secrets, you will never shop for a cruise the same way again. The fare you see is almost never the fare you pay. You can spot a Carnival or MSC sailing that looks unbelievably cheap, then watch the total jump the second you reach checkout. Here's the catch. That flashy number usually leaves out taxes, port fees, gratuities, and all the extras cruise lines know many cruisers will add anyway. You think you found a bargain stateroom. Then the math changes fast when you add Wi-Fi, a drink package, specialty dining, and maybe travel protection. On a 7-night cruise, that cheap fare can quietly turn into hundreds more per person before you even step onto the Lido deck. Most cruisers do not realize the real comparison is never base fare versus base fare. It is total trip cost versus total trip cost. That is where one line can suddenly become far more expensive than another, even when the ad says the opposite. And if you skip this step, you can book the wrong cruise for the wrong reason and blow your budget before the buffet even opens. Your pro move is simple. Price every cruise all the way to final checkout. Then add the extras you know you will actually use before you compare anything. A low deposit can trap you faster than a high fare. You can see this on Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, and Carnival when a booking looks harmless because the upfront payment feels small. But wait, many cruise lines push non-refundable deposits, and that changes everything the second your plans shift. You can think you are just holding a cabin, then learn your money is locked up or reduced to a future cruise credit with restrictions. Most cruisers do not realize the real pain starts when final payment gets close. After that deadline, cancellation penalties can climb fast and your flexibility can vanish overnight. A family emergency, a flight problem, or even a simple schedule change can suddenly cost you far more than expected. The truth is, cruise lines love early commitment because it reduces your options. Even worse, some fares look cheaper specifically because the cancellation terms are harsher. That means the deal only works if absolutely nothing goes wrong. And on a cruise vacation, plenty can go wrong before embarkation. You do not want to discover the rules when you are already stressed. Your pro tip is to read the cancellation schedule before you book, check whether the deposit is refundable, and only choose the cheapest rates if you are completely comfortable with the risk. Your cabin can ruin your cruise long before the itinerary does. You can book what looks like a smart deal on MSC, Carnival, or Royal Caribbean, then end up under the Lido deck buffet, above the theatre, or beside a noisy service door. Most cruisers do not realize that not all cabins in the same category feel the same. A balcony is not automatically peaceful. An ocean view is not automatically better than an inside cabin. And a guaranteed stateroom can place you almost anywhere the cruise line needs to fill. That can mean constant chair scraping above you at dawn, late night music below you, or a long, exhausting walk every time you want coffee, the pool, or your shore excursion meeting point. Here's the catch. Cruise lines sell categories. You live with locations. That difference matters more than first-time cruisers expect. A badly placed cabin can cost you sleep, privacy, and patience for the entire voyage. Suddenly the ship feels crowded, loud, and annoying, when the real problem's just where you sleep. Your action step is simple. Before you book, pull up the deck plan. Avoid cabins directly under the buffet or pool deck. Avoid areas over the nightclub or theatre, and treat a guaranteed cabin like a gamble, not a bargain. That drink package can be one of the easiest ways to overspend at sea. You can board a Norwegian or Royal Caribbean ship thinking unlimited drinks sounds like freedom, then spend the whole cruise trying to make it worth it. The truth is, cruise lines count on exactly that mindset. Most cruisers do not realize the daily price often comes with extra gratuities added automatically, and on many sailings, every adult in the same cabin has to buy it. That turns one casual cocktail plan into a much bigger bill. Then the rules show up. Some menus exclude premium spirits. Some coffees, bottled waters, or fresh juices do not count. Some lines cap the number of drinks, or limit where the package works, especially at private destinations. And if your port days are long, you may barely use it while still paying full price. You can easily spend hundreds for convenience and still come out behind. Cruise lines love the all-inclusive feeling because it sounds like savings, even when your actual drinking habits say otherwise. Your pro tip is to estimate honestly. Count how many drinks are some specialty coffees, sodas, or bottled waters, you would really buy on a sea day and on a port day. If the math does not clearly win, skip the package and pay as you go. The included food story is not as simple as the ads make it sound. You can book a cruise on Carnival, MSC, or Norwegian, believing your dining is covered. And technically that is true. But most cruisers do not realise how aggressively cruise lines steer you towards specialty dining once you get on board. You will see it right away. Beautiful steakhouse photos, limited time offers, staff pitching packages on embarkation day. Suddenly the main dining room feels ordinary by design, while the paid venues feel like the real vacation. Here's the catch. The food included in your fare can still be good, but cruise lines make extra money when you feel tempted to upgrade. On busy ships, the buffet can get crowded, popular menu items can rotate out, and prime dinner times can disappear fast. That pressure makes the upsell feel necessary, even when it is not. And if you cave without a plan, you can add hundreds more in just a few nights. The truth is, you do not need specialty dining every night to eat well. You just need strategy. Your action step is to research what is actually included on your ship. Book only the 1 or 2 paid venues you truly care about, and use embarkation day to reserve times before the best slots vanish. Embarkation day is where cruise lines quietly let chaos work in their favour. You can board a Carnival or Royal Caribbean ship, excited to explore, then lose half the day because you arrived unprepared. Most cruisers do not realise that embarkation is not just check-in. It is the most important planning window of the whole cruise. This is when specialty dining reservations disappear, spa appointments fill up, and the best early deals show up and vanish. But wait, your luggage may not reach your cabin for hours. That means if your swimsuit, medications, chargers, or important documents are packed in checked bags, your first afternoon can turn into a frustrating scavenger hunt. You can also walk straight into a buffet mob if you follow the crowd without a plan. Cruise lines know most people will wander, wait, and spend. That wasted time matters because your first impression shapes the whole trip. If embarkation feels stressful, the cruise feels smaller, busier, and more expensive from the start. And number 7 gets even more expensive if you make the wrong pre-cruise flight choice. Your pro tip is to carry on everything essential, complete online check-in early, board with a reservation plan, and head somewhere other than the main buffet if your ship offers quieter lunch options. Flying in on cruise day is one of the riskiest mistakes you can make. You can let a cruise line package your flights through Norwegian, Carnival, or MSC, and assume that means you are protected. The truth is, airline delays do not care about your embarkation time. Most cruisers do not realise how little margin exists when a ship is leaving that afternoon. One weather delay, one missed connection, one mechanical issue, and your vacation can become a race you lose before you ever see your cabin. Cruise lines may offer air programs and transfers, but that does not guarantee a stress-free arrival. You can still land late, wait on luggage, sit in traffic, and watch the clock destroy your plans. Here's the catch. A cruise ship will not hold for every delayed passenger, especially if you booked your own air. Even when help exists, the recovery can mean last-minute hotels, expensive rebooking, or trying to meet the ship at the next port. That is not a vacation. That is damage control, and the money loss can wipe out every deal you thought you found when booking. Your pro move is to fly in at least 1 day early, book a hotel near the port, and treat that extra night as insurance for your entire cruise. Cruise line shore excursions are not always the rip-off people think, but the cheap alternative can cost you even more. You can look at a Royal Caribbean or MSC shore excursion and feel the sticker shock immediately. Then you find a private operator online for less and think you outsmarted the system. Here's the catch. Cruise-sponsored tours usually cost more because the ship takes responsibility for getting you back on time. Most cruisers do not realise how valuable that becomes when traffic explodes, weather shifts, or a tour runs late. If you book independently and miss all aboard, the ship can leave without you. Your cabin, your passport copies, your medications, and your entire itinerary are suddenly part of a nightmare recovery plan. On the other hand, cruise line excursions can absolutely be overpriced, crowded, and generic. That is why blind loyalty is just as bad as blind bargain hunting. The truth is, your choice should depend on the port, distance, and risk. A beach club near the pier is one thing. A long inland adventure from a tender port is something else entirely. Your action step is to book independent tours only when the operator has an excellent reputation, plenty of buffer time, and a route close enough to the ship that you can absorb delays without disaster. Tender ports look magical in the brochure and frustrating in real life. You can book a cruise because the itinerary includes a gorgeous stop served by tender boats, then lose hours waiting just to get ashore. Most cruisers do not realise a tender port means your ship anchors offshore and smaller boats shuttle you in. That sounds simple until thousands of passengers want the same ride at the same time. On Carnival, Norwegian and MSC itineraries, this can mean long lines, delayed departure windows, and a much shorter port day than you expected. But wait, weather can make the whole thing worse. A little swell can slow tender operations or cancel the stop altogether. Suddenly, the destination you booked the cruise for becomes a view from your balcony instead of a real day ashore. Cruise lines know tender ports help them advertise attractive itineraries without promising the same reliability as docking at a pier. That matters because your excursions, beach plans, and port expectations can collapse fast. If mobility is an issue, the problem gets even bigger. Your pro tip is to check which ports on your itinerary are tender ports before booking. Avoid relying on one tender stop as the main reason for your cruise, and always plan extra buffer into any activity there. Your itinerary is never as guaranteed as the marketing makes it feel. You can book a Royal Caribbean or Carnival cruise for one dream port, count down for months, and still wake up to a totally different plan. The truth is, cruise contracts give cruise lines wide power to change ports, times and routes for weather, operational reasons, or even efficiency. Most cruisers do not realise how little leverage you have once you accept those terms. If a port gets cancelled, you may get some port fees back, but you usually do not get compensation for the experience you really bought the cruise for. That means no refund for the non-refundable beach club you booked on your own, no redo for the perfect port day you planned, and no promise of an equal replacement. Here's the catch. Cruise lines advertise destinations. Cruise contracts protect flexibility. Those are not the same thing. This matters most on itineraries built around one standout stop, like a private island, Alaska Glacier Day, or a single bucket list port. If that one piece disappears, your whole trip can feel different. Your action step is to book a cruise you would still enjoy, even if one major port changes, and avoid prepaying independent port activities unless the cancellation terms are crystal clear. Port days are shorter and more expensive than first-time cruisers expect. You can see a stop listed from 8 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, and assume that means a full day to explore. Most cruisers do not realise that all aboard usually comes well before departure. That instantly cuts your usable time. Then local transportation takes a bite. Tendering takes a bite. Security lines take a bite. Suddenly your so-called full day becomes a hurried scramble with too little time and too many costs. On MSC and Norwegian sailings, you can also find shops and attractions near the pier, priced for cruise traffic, not for value. The truth is, cruise lines sell the feeling of seeing multiple destinations, but every port day is a compressed version of the place. That is why bad planning burns money so fast. You can overbook an excursion, miss lunch back on board, overpay near the terminal, and still rush back sweating because the clock moved faster than expected. Cruise lines do not need to hide this. Most cruisers simply do not calculate it until they are living it. Your pro tip is to treat every port day like a half day, prioritise one must-do activity, note the all-aboard time the second you get off the ship, and keep enough cushion to return without panic. Cruise line insurance can sound safer than it really is. You can reach checkout on Carnival, Norwegian, or Royal Caribbean, and see travel protection added with one click. That convenience is exactly why it sells so well. Most cruisers do not realise cruise line plans can be narrower than independent travel insurance, especially when medical evacuation, missed connections, or pre-cruise hotel disruptions enter the picture. Here's the catch. You are not only insuring the cruise fare, you are protecting flights, hotels, baggage delays, emergency treatment, and the possibility of needing serious care far from home. Ship medical centres can help, but treatment on board is not free, and evacuation costs can be brutal. The truth is, cruise lines know many travellers buy the easiest option without comparing what is actually covered. That can leave you feeling protected while some of the biggest real-world risks remain exposed. If illness hits right before embarkation, or an airline domino effect wrecks your arrival, the policy details matter more than the sales pitch. And that fine print is where expensive surprises live. Your action step is to compare cruise line insurance against an independent policy that covers the full trip, including airfare, hotels, medical care, and evacuation, before you accept the default option. Onboard credit and free perks can make an overpriced cruise look smart. You can see a Norwegian offer with free Wi-Fi, free drinks, free specialty dining, or onboard credit and feel like you found a winner. But wait, cruise lines know bundled perks sound more exciting than a lower base fare. Most cruisers do not realize a flashy package can still cost more than simply booking a cheaper sailing and paying only for what you actually use. The same trick shows up with casino offers, loyalty discounts, and future cruise deals. A free cabin can come with taxes, fees, gratuities, or limited dates that make it far less free than it sounds. Onboard credit can also nudge you into spending more than planned because it feels like house money. That is exactly the point. The truth is, cruise lines do not want you comparing clean numbers. Cruise lines want you focused on perceived value. And perceived value is where travellers overspend. If you do not strip the deal apart line by line, you can choose the wrong ship, wrong date, or wrong cabin because a few extras distracted you. Your pro tip is to ignore the word free, price the cruise without emotion, and ask one brutal question before booking. Would you still choose this sailing if every perk were listed as cash? The last secret is the one that keeps cruise lines smiling long after you book. Your price can change, your upgrade options can change, and your leverage can disappear if you stop paying attention. You can book a Royal Caribbean, MSC, or Carnival cruise, assume the hard part is over, and miss a later price drop, upgrade offer, or fare adjustment window. Most cruisers do not realise some deals are worth checking again before final payment, while other fares lock you in with almost no flexibility. That means the same cabin category can get cheaper after you book, and you may never know unless you watch it. Or you can get tempted by a bid upgrade email, pay extra for a better cabin, and land in a location that is worse for your style of cruise. Here's the catch. Cruise lines count on inertia. Once you book, many travellers stop comparing, stop reading terms, and stop asking questions. That is where easy money gets left on the table. The truth is, booking's not the finish line. It is the start of your best chance to protect your budget. Your action step is to monitor your fare until final payment. Review every upgrade offer carefully against the deck plan, and never assume the cruise line will volunteer a better deal. Now you know why booking a cruise is never just about picking a ship and packing a suitcase. The low fare can be misleading. The deposit can trap you. The wrong cabin can wreck your sleep. The drink package, specialty dining, airfare, excursions, tender ports, insurance, and free perks can all quietly drain your budget before your vacation even starts. Most cruisers do not lose money because cruising's too expensive. You lose money because the details are designed to blur together until checkout feels inevitable. If this saved you from one bad booking decision, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment with the biggest cruise surprise you have ever seen. And if you want to protect your next vacation even more, watch the next video on the biggest cruise mistakes first-time cruisers make after boarding, because that is where the second wave of expensive surprises begins.